Alright guys, welcome back. So we're on to the fifth row of talents here. And for this video I'm going to actually go from right to left. And you'll see why that is. So the first one here is Windrush Totem. So this can summon a totem wherever you want. And for 15 seconds, if you are near it, then you will gain 60% increased movement speed. And so if we have a quick look at what it can do. So outside of the radius, no movement speed, but I go within and I'm fast. And the buff stays on if you go outside of it, and you can run back inside to get that buff for 5 seconds again. So actually it can improve your movement speed outside of the radius because all it does is apply a buff to you for 5 seconds, and you get that buff by being inside that radius. So it does allow you actually to improve your movement speed over a greater area than you might think when you just look at the ability description. The second one here is Graceful Spirit. And so this reduces the cooldown of Spirit Walker's Grace by 60 seconds and increases your movement speed by 20% while it's active. And Spirit Walker's Grace is the ability that you use when you really need to move and cast at the same time. So, specifically some dungeon and raid bosses, there will be some phases of the fight where you really need to keep moving all the time, and most of your spells are not instant cast. So in those cases, you'll need to use Spirit Walker's Grace so that you can keep casting and moving and making sure nobody dies. So having this talent can can reduce the cooldown of Spirit Walker's Grace so that you can use it more often. So from 2 minutes down to 1 minute, you can use it twice as often. And it will also increase your movement speed. So the base ability does not give you a movement speed boost, but having this talent will give you that. So let's have a quick look. So moving and casting. Super. And that's how it works. So finally now the one I would have begun with but didn't. Nature's Guardian. When your health is brought below 35%, you instantly heal for 20% of your maximum health. So you can see immediately there's a big difference between these two and this one. These two are both kind of primarily, they both have a kind of primary purpose of movement speed or movement, some kind of utility connected to movement. Whereas Nature's Guardian is directly connected to you not dying. And as you can't really do anything when you are dead, this tends to be a pretty strong choice. Because being alive means you can actually do what you're supposed to be doing. Whereas being able to move fast can also provide that same kind of function sometimes. If you really need to move fast during an encounter to stay alive, then these will keep you alive. But the thing is, Nature's Guardian applies to so many more situations than the other two do. So they become a bit niche. You can use them in some cases. There are some boss fights where a Windrush Totem is really helpful. And there are some fights where Graceful Spirit is really helpful because you need to use Spirit Walker's Grace more often. But most of the time, unless you have those specific situations, Nature's Guardian will always be the best. Only 45 seconds cooldown, so every 45 seconds you can get that heal. So 20% for me would be about 28 or 29,000 health. And if I can get that for free every 45 seconds just because I'm taking damage, that's really nice. And it can definitely save your life in many cases. So that's why Nature's Guardian tends to be the de facto choice. But bear in mind that these two do have their uses, just not as many as Nature's Guardian. So that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and come back next time.